As always, socialstudiesgames.us. That's where you can find some review games to help you out with your lessons, activities, videos. It's all there. Today, your learning goal is describe the elastic clause and be able to criticize or defend. Now, for the most part, if you can describe the elastic clause, we're going to be all right. If you really want to take it to the next level, up on Bloom's level of learning, be able to defend it or criticize it. You'll need evidence to support your arguments or your defense or your criticism. Start the clock. So far in this unit, remember we talked about the fundamental political principles and documents they're written down in, and the Constitution takes the best of all of those. Your 5 fundamental political principles are consent of the governed, limited government, democracy, rule of law, representative government. These are the basic ideas that America has been built upon. That is our foundation. They are the fundamental basic government ideas. They can be found in these 5 significant documents. They are also in other documents, other American documents, other French documents, other English documents. But these are the 5 that we really want to focus on, and they heavily influence the United States Constitution, which explains our government then and today. Magna Carta, English Bill of Rights in 1689, 1607, the Charter of the Virginia Company of London, 1776, the Declaration of Independence, and then the Articles of Confederation, our first form of government, which failed and was replaced by the U.S. Constitution. 3 parts of the Constitution, the Preamble, the Articles, and the Amendments, that's what they do. What was this? This was our last video. What word do we use to describe the division of power between the state and national government? Remember, the national government has the power and has certain roles and certain responsibilities. Our state government also has certain power, roles, and responsibilities. We divide it between the two. What word do we use to describe this division? It was in our last video, and it's called federalism. And that is the style of government that we have today. We have a federalist system where we have a federal government with some power, state government with some power, and that's that. I'm not going to go into the argument over our federal government has too much power. Sound like an old cranky man. Remember, federal government can make laws like the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution that says all people are equal under the law. We all have to be treated equally in every single state. We have pollution laws. It wouldn't make sense for Florida to pollute and North Carolina not to pollute. If one state is allowed to be dirty and not follow the rules, that, like, for example, dirty air, that dirty air is going to pollute the entire country. You got to have everybody follow. There's a lot of laws that just make sense that everyone must follow. It wouldn't be good if one state was allowed to cheat and others weren't. All states must protect the rights of people with disabilities, not just specific states. There's a federal law. And then we talked about specific states having their own specific laws like high taxes, low taxes, death penalty, no death penalty, right to conceal carry, right to stand your ground. Some states give the citizens free health care. It just depends in what state that you live because it's a federalist system. We divide power. Today we're talking about the elastic clause. So be able to describe this and then defend or criticize the elastic clause. What is the elastic clause? Article 1 of the United States Constitution, Section 8. That's like going to Chapter 1, Paragraph 8, if we're looking at it from a book. And we would see that in Article 1, skip down to Section 8, we'll see a phrase that says the government can make all laws which are necessary and proper. That is vague. It doesn't say specifically the laws that they can make. It doesn't say specifically the laws that it cannot make. So this can be stretched out. You can interpret this however you want and stretch it to mean what you want it to mean, like you're seeing in the video, the elastic clause. It wasn't called the elastic clause then, but after we've looked over it and we've interpreted it and we've understood it, we gave this phrase, we gave Article 1, Section 8 the nickname. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution has been given the nickname, hey, that's the elastic clause, because over the course of history, we have kind of stretched out the meaning of what that means for certain purposes. So we're taking the U.S. Constitution, we're kind of stretching out what it says we can and cannot do. 1791, when we are approving the Constitution, there are the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. We talked about this. On the left side of the screen, you see the Federalists and Alexander Hamilton and everything that they believed. We've talked about that. The biggest difference, state rights versus federal government. Big federal government, which is what the Federalists believe, and then the Anti-Federalists, or during this time, for the elastic clause argument, they're mainly called the Democratic Republicans. So a lot of the anti-federalists will turn into Democratic Republicans, and they favor state rights. They favor the people, not a strong federal government. And you can see the two arguments on the screen, what they believe in, what they believe in. The big argument that we're talking about for this video is the Federalists, under Alexander Hamilton's leadership, although Hamilton would not be a president, he could not be a president because he was not born in the United States, he favors or believes in a loose interpretation of the Constitution, whereas Jefferson, the Democratic Republican, the anti-federalist, believed in a strict interpretation of the Constitution. What does that mean? So if you are to read the Constitution, you are reading the U.S. Constitution, and specifically, especially Article 1, Section 8, if you read that, Jefferson, the anti-federalist, the guy that's a strict interpretation, says if it's not in the U.S. Constitution, then the government does not have the power to do it. If it doesn't say in the Constitution that the government can do something, then the government cannot do that something. It has to be written down. The powers have to be enumerated. They have to be explicitly stated. If it's not there, we can't do it. He is strict in his interpretation. Although he'll change his mind when it's when it fits what he needs to do, because he believes in limited government. We are limiting the government's power by saying, if it's not there, you can't do it. We don't want a king. We don't want an abusive federal government that makes us take tests every year. Oh, wait, never mind. The anti-federalists, or the Federalists under Alexander Hamilton, they believe in a loose interpretation. Well, as long as it doesn't say we can't, then we can. Look, it doesn't say we can't do that. Like, what? No, you can't use that kind of logic. That doesn't make sense. No. He looks at it and says, well, it doesn't say we can't do this, so I guess we can do it. You didn't say we couldn't. What? What are you, a kid? Well, that's the loose interpretation. And it's not like he's just making stuff up to play games. He's reading into the Constitution loosely. He's reading between the lines because he needs to do something. He's saying we can stretch it out. The elastic clause. Here's the problem. Alexander Hamilton, there's a bunch of stuff, but let's just look at the main argument here. The federal government collects taxes, right? I pay taxes, you pay taxes. What are they supposed to do with that tax money? Stick it under their bed? Bury it in the backyard? If the government collects our money, where do we put the tax money? Good question. He argues we need a bank. We need a government bank, the first bank of the United States. That's where we'll put the money. U.S. Constitution does not say the government can create a bank. And under Jefferson's strict interpretation, can't do it. Well, Hamilton, loose interpretation. It doesn't say we can't create a bank. What are you? But he's okay. Think about it this way. Sometimes the government needs more money than taxes, and we need money instantly. Where is the government going to get that money? They need a bank to borrow money from. You can borrow money. Why can't the government borrow money? We need to be able to take loans. If we're going to war tomorrow, we need a lot of money instantly. More money than we can get instantly through taxes. We need a bank. Next argument. Where do the banks get money? If you're a bank, where did you get the money? You don't create it. They need to borrow from someone. And so we should create a U.S. bank that loans the money to the individual banks. And if we do that, we now create a common currency amongst all the banks. If all the banks borrow the money from one place, we all use the same money. If you're in North Carolina, you have money that you can use in New York. And in New York, you can take that money to Florida and spend the money in Florida. And we all have the same common currency because we have one bank. Jefferson. The Constitution doesn't say we can create a bank. We are abusing our power. We are becoming kings. I believe in a strict interpretation. Hamilton, the Federalist. I understand the need for limited government, but you're doing too much, Jefferson. Come on, man. Stop being so strict. Stop being so uptight. You know we need a bank. I just gave you 3 really good reasons for creating a bank. The Constitution doesn't say we can't create a bank. Come on, man, you need to chill. Let's look at the elastic clause. Let's stretch it out. All right, you don't believe me? I'm going to show you how we're going to make this work. Hamilton thinks about it, and he thinks about it, and he thinks about it, and he thinks about it some more, and he thinks about it, and why is this change? All right, so he goes to Article 1, and he looks at it, and that describes the legislative branch and explains how the legislative branch makes laws. Okay, cool. Well, I need a law that allows me to make a bank. Well, there isn't anything written in the Constitution that says we can make banks, or there's a law that says you can make banks. But we know we can make laws. Well, what kind of laws can we make? Article 1, Section 8 says you can make any law that is necessary and proper. Any law? Any law? Well, it says any law that's necessary, any law that's proper. Does that mean I can make a bank? Can I make a law that says the U.S. government gets a bank? I don't know. You might be stretching it a little bit too much. Well, Hamilton says, look at the preamble. And in the preamble, if we look closely, right, this explains the purpose of our government. The preamble explains the goals of our government. We can make laws that are necessary and proper. Okay, we can make a law that is necessary. Well, is the bank necessary? What? It doesn't say we can't, right? But it doesn't say we can. Well, can we or can't we? Can we or can't we? Hamilton says, stretch it out. We'll stretch this Constitution out. I'm going to say how it works. If you look in the preamble, it says, promote the general welfare. Right here. We, the people, have given the government the authority to promote the general welfare, which basically means they have the ability to make our lives better. So the laws that they make can make our life better. And anything that makes our life better, any law that makes our lives better is necessary and it's proper. Hamilton argues, I can create a bank. I know it doesn't say I can't create a bank. I know it doesn't say I can create a bank, but it does say that the government can promote the general welfare. The government can make our lives better. The government can make laws that make our lives better. And if the law makes our life better, then it's necessary and it's proper. Is it proper? Proper basically means, is it okay? Well, the bank is going to make our life better, so it checks that box. And we know the government can make laws that are proper, so boom, it's all good in the hood. Promote the general welfare. That's how the elastic clause kind of sneaks its way through, and we follow it today. And you stretch it out. We're basically stretching out, well, is it really making life better? Yeah, people need money. The government needs to borrow money. We need to find a way to store money. All those things are necessary, and they all are going to serve the better of the people. To have a common currency that we can all use and the banks can all borrow money seems like it's going to make life better. And so he argues, boom, you just got served, Jefferson. Loose interpretation wins, and this is the way that we interpret the Constitution today. People still will argue for a strict interpretation like Jefferson, but even Jefferson, when he gets power of his own, he says that he believes in a strict interpretation, but Jefferson himself, when push comes to shove, and we have the opportunity to buy the Louisiana Purchase from Napoleon, we buy basically half of the country belonged to France. And we bought it from them for a really cheap price. But guess what? Constitution does not give the government the authority to buy land. It's not in there. Well, then Jefferson shouldn't have been able to do it because he's a strict interpretationalist. Well, when push came to shove, Jefferson's like, all right, well, I know it doesn't say I can do it, but it doesn't say I can't. So that is strict interpretation of Jefferson, loose interpretation by Hamilton and the Federalists. And this is basically where we are today. The elastic clause allows the government to do what's necessary and proper. What's necessary and proper? Well, we know if it's necessary or proper by simply looking at the preamble. Does it do this? 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 If the law helps create fair courts, then it's necessary and proper, and the government can do it. Even though it's not stated that you can do it, even though it's not written in the Constitution, the government can still do it because it's necessary and proper, because it helps fulfill the preamble. If it helps keep the peace, then that's necessary, that's proper. The government can then proceed. That's how the elastic clause works. That's where it is today. Now, there's some good videos on vocabulary, or you can watch the famous Broadway musical. Now, I don't know where you stand. You can defend, you can criticize, right? So you should have a good idea. You can describe, oh, yeah, that's the thing. They can make whatever law basically they want. That's what. Describe the elastic clause. they can make any law they want. Now, do you like this? Or do you not like this? Or do you like this, like Hamilton? Can you defend it? Do you see his argument? Can you give reasons why we need to loosely interpret the Constitution? Why we need an elastic clause? Or are you more like, no. Once you start going down that road, you're going to end up with a government that can easily abuse its power. If you allow the government to make any law, you're going to end up with a king. And that king who makes any law says, you know what would be necessary and proper? More tests. That sounds like, I know it doesn't say the government can make students take tests. It's not in the Constitution, but it's necessary. It's proper because tests can judge who knows what. So Jefferson right here he is an anti-federalist, and he would also be anti-test. He does not believe in the elastic clause. He does not believe in stretching out the governments of power. Hamilton we're going to give him a mustache and give him glasses because we don't like him. Because he says, you know what, sometimes the government needs to stretch their authority, stretch their power, and he believes in the Fed. He believes in tests.